Hello everyone, this is Professor Shees, and I want to introduce your final project in this presentation. I will be outlining the requirements, steps you can take, as well as the goal and assessment criteria. You can use this video as a walkthrough or guide for completing the project. Let's start with a quick look at the project. As you can see here, the project has two parts. Part 1 is the career paper. This is a formal, professional, academic paper. It will be around 3 to 4 pages, double-spaced. Since it is professional and academic, it should use MLA or APA formatting and should include sources with citations. The main focus for this project is on how a specific career uses linguistics. Your task is to answer questions like, how does a certain career utilize linguistic concepts? What are 3 linguistic concepts used in this career? As your instructor, my goal is to determine if students can identify and explain these concepts they learned from class, as well as to assess if students can discuss the applications of linguistics. Your midterm focused mostly on finding concepts and explaining them. The final project takes it up one more level by asking you to discuss how a concept is valuable or used. After finishing this paper, it's time to remix it. This is part 2, the screencast. The screencast is more informal and will consist of audio narration of our PowerPoint presentation, kind of like what I'm doing right now. Your presentation will be about 5 to 15 minutes, and it will summarize the content from your Part 1 career paper. The main focus is still the content of that career paper. No new research is required. However, your task is now to answer, how can I make this information accessible for a different audience? As your instructor, my goal then is to see if students can apply what they learned about language and linguistics. You will be intentional language users focused on fitting in with a social group. Let's break this down some more. Here are the steps I took to tackle this project. First, I need to pick a career. I could go a familiar route with careers like speech pathologist, translator, or teacher. If I wanted a challenge, I could look into comedians, actors, writers, or game creators. Any job is appropriate as long as it uses linguistics. That brings us to step 2, finding 3 concepts in this career. The key components of this are that your concepts should be from different units in our course, and your concepts should be a specific career. For example, I know a speech therapist uses phonetics. I need more information than that. What specific phones does a speech therapist teach? Additionally, since I know phonetics is important, let's consider other subfields like syntax, pragmatics, or sociolinguistics. Here's what I came up with. I picked an opera singer. I have a friend who sings opera. When we talk, I'm always surprised at how much linguistic knowledge she has. I've come to realize that it is a career that heavily relies on linguistics. I then went through each of our units and tried to come up with a connection. I also even texted my friend and asked her for advice. This led me to pick these 3 concepts: phonetics, specifically the L, language acquisition with imitation theory, and lastly, sociolinguistics with historical and cultural impact on translations. I have a solid outline now. I know what direction to go, so I just need to write things up. To write up your paper, your body paragraphs will focus on explaining the concept you found, as well as how it connects or impacts that career. You can use your textbook and notes, but you will also need to find outside resources to back up or illustrate your concept. Let me illustrate with my example paper. I'm going to focus on my phonetics paragraph. I found several source options: a scholarly article that gave me an in-depth look at articulation of the Italian L, a YouTube video that trains singers on different Italian pronunciations, and the diction textbook my friend used that offered advice for more accurate pronunciations. All these sources are valid for this project. I ended up choosing the scholarly article because it gave me more to discuss, but the YouTube video was a close second. With this source, I was able to put together a paragraph that explained the phonetic articulation of the phone, and I explained why this phone was so important or relevant. I really want to show the reader that understanding of phonetics is valuable for an opera singer, using this specific example. I would repeat this process for my other concepts. This would total about 3 to 4 sources, or one source per body paragraph. To finalize the paper after you have composed your body paragraphs, you will need an introduction explaining why you chose that career. Maybe it is your future career, maybe it's a hobby, maybe you picked something difficult for the fun of a challenge. You'll also need a conclusion that captures why linguistics is so necessary for the career. Rather than summarize your major points again, focus on an overall message and takeaway about linguistics in this career. Lastly, since you use sources, you will need a works cited or bibliography. You can use the Writing Center or Purdue OWL to learn about citations. If you want a visual, this QR code will take you to my opera singer paper draft. The link is also in the assignment page on Canvas. How will this be assessed? Well, here's my rubric. To summarize, the major factors are having a specific linguistic concept and clearly defining them, making deep connections between the concept and career, capturing the importance of linguistics, using sources to verify or illustrate your ideas, and pursuing something professional with APA or MLA formatting. You have now produced an academic paper with great information. This leads us to part 2, the screencast. Here is the scenario I have in mind. Since you have written such a good career paper, you have been invited to represent that career at a high school career fair. Have you ever been to one of those? These consist of various booths. Students browse booth to booth to learn about a career and its coursework. Suppose a student stops at your booth. Your task is to inform the students about the career and why linguistics is important for that career. Whereas your career paper from part 1 had lots of space and research to explore these concepts academically, your career fair only has so much time and space. You are also talking to a 16-year-old who might not know anything about linguistics. This means you will need to remix your career paper into something more appropriate to the scenario. Here is how I would go about remixing your paper. First, you will need a visual aid. Teens like visuals, right? So you'll need to convert your paragraphs to PowerPoint slides. You'll also need to consider how to make this information attractive and engaging. Maybe some images or GIFs. Next, you'll need to prepare a typed script. The script should not be the same as your career paper. You'll need to alter your language to appeal to teens. Consider your pronunciation, syntax, lexicon, and pragmatics. This script will not only help make sure you hold their attention, but is also helpful in a loud, crowded room, or to break the fourth wall for me, who might struggle understanding your audio. Lastly, you will combine the PowerPoint with your script by making the screencast. You can use sites like Screencast-O-Matic or Zoom, or you can even use your phone. You don't need to show your face unless you want to. In terms of length, I just asked that the video be less than 15 minutes. Let's go back to my opera paper. If I was talking to teens, I might show a TikTok of an opera singer, a picture of a new pronunciation, or have some interactive questions. I would probably avoid using linguistic jargon in favor of simple explanations. Here is the assessment for the screencast. The focus is mostly on completion and evidence of remixing your paper for a new audience. I also note that I chose a teen audience, but it doesn't have to be your audience. If you want to use this assignment for your teaching portfolio, present it at a club, pretend you are teaching to your parents, you're welcome to change the audience. Just reach out to me so we can talk about it in advance. Before wrapping up, I want to mention some small steps along the way. Discussion Board 8 will be for your outline and sources. It will help us stay on track as well as get inspiration from your peers. Discussion Board 9 will be a place to host our mock career fair. You will post your screencast in Discussion Board and then leave feedback on another person's video. This means you will post your screencast and script in 2 places, the assignment page and Discussion Board. Lastly, Discussion Board 10 will be a place to reflect on the remix of your project. Let's recap. Your final assignment in this class has 2 parts. First is a scholarly academic paper with research. The second is a more informal screencast. Both will focus on the same career and how that career uses linguistics. Along the way, there are a few discussion boards. I hope this video helps you better understand the project. If you have any concerns, I suggest checking out that opera example. You can also send me an email if you have any questions.